Hi everyone, welcome back. This is part 3 of our Intro to FEA series. If you stuck with me this far, you must be serious about FEA, so let's learn how to format everything and make it look nice for design reports or showing to your friends or teachers, professors, whatever you want to do. Alright, so this is where we left off in the last video. As you can see over here, the scale is kind of ridiculous. Nobody reads scientific notation. I mean, okay, you know how, but I mean, it's not intuitive. There's a way to change that though. Go over here to the stress, whatever your plot you're on, I guess. Right click on it and go to edit definition. So right in here, this gives you the option to actually show different kinds of stress on here. So depending on what you're looking for, you can make it show different things. I usually leave it on von Mises because it's it's a good indicator of how the part's doing. Here, though, you can change the units. And as I mentioned, I think in the first video, we like to use freedom units at CSU Chico. So I'm going to go down to here to KSI, that's kips per square inch, or 1000 PSI per square inch. All right. And so if I hit OK on that, you can see it changed that. Now, all the numbers are different. Let's go back to that, though, because there's a little bit more that we can do. Chart options. These tabs here are basically just control the stress plot, so you can mess with, I don't know, you can mess with all the features in here, but I'm just going to show you a few of the common ones. So right down here, it's going to choose how to display it. So right now it's on scientific. I'm going to drop it to floating. You can see it instantly changed it over here. And so depending on how much you trust your FEA results, you may or may not want this many decimals. For me, I don't think 3 decimals are significant in this simulation. So, you know, just for formatting's sake, let's drop it down to 1. So, I mean, it's not near failure, so it's not super critical. So 1 decimal, I think, looks good on there, and it gives you a good idea of what's going on. So yield strength, 73.2 KSI, and you can see the max up here is 58.6. All right? So, go ahead and OK. And there you go. Now I want to hide these little purple controls. So same way as you hide the forces and fixtures, go to mesh controls, right click, say hide, hide. And now, so if you're putting this in a report, you might not want it to show the mesh. Maybe you do. So if you want it to, you know, do some detail shots showing here that you actually did your due diligence and refined the mesh properly, it might be worth leaving that on. If you don't want that on though, go back, same quick deal like I showed you earlier, right click on it, click show mesh, and it's gone. Okay, so that might be good for, like, you know, an overview shot. You can kind of just give a basic idea of what's going on. You can move the scale around too, also, by the way. That's a neat trick. So actually I'm going to turn that back on, just so if we want to do some detail shots. If we go back to edit the definition here, or the chart options, I showed you this earlier. You can check either of these boxes for either the max flag or the min flag. Min flag I don't think is too important unless your part is, like, you know, there's stress everywhere. So in this case, it's going to pick a random point where there's no stress, basically. So that's not really informative. But you can show the max, okay? So the max 58.6, just like it shows at the top of the scale here. So that is useful if you wanted to do those detail shots like I was showing you, because then you can come in here, you know, and there you go. You have your max value. You can see the mesh. You can see the stress colors. That's all fine and dandy. And when you move around, it kind of floats around with it. Sometimes it'll go off in space, so be careful to not drag it out too far, because you can lose it. I've done that before. So I'm going to turn that off just because I'm not really making a report right now, but just kind of showing you what you can do. All right. And in the last video, I said I would show you how to create a factor of safety plot. So that's something that is very useful in the FEA and interpreting results. So if you go over here to Results Advisor, again, not Advisor, hit the drop down, you can say New Plot, and this gives you kind of a list of the plots that you can use. So stress, displacement, and strain are already on there. This stuff is for, I don't know, if you want to toy with it, you can. Go to Factor of Safety. Factor of safety pretty much always screws up, so let's see if it does it right. Alright, so I want to say yes, all, instead of selected bodies, so you can select, if you have multiple bodies, what to show the flag for, or the chart for. Just go ahead and hit next. Multiplication factor, leave that at 1. It's not really useful to multiply your factor of safety. Show areas below factor of safety. Okay, so right here, you can see it already calculated. Your minimum factor of safety is 1.25. All right, so yeah, all right, just leave that. Hit OK, and whoa, it's all red. This pretty much always happens. That's what I was talking about, how it breaks. So don't freak out. It doesn't mean your entire part has, a terrible factor of safety. It's just the scaling. So let's go back in here and edit it just kind of like we did. Sorry, not edit for factor of safety. This one's a little different. You have to go to chart options. Let's change the units like we did before. So let's go to floating. Make it 1 decimal point. Okay. So there you can see the scale is up here. That for whatever reason, it wants to show you the highest factor of safety. Okay, so right here where there's no stress, there's a 12,000 factor of safety, and it kind of just goes down from there. So realistically, most of the part is somewhere in this very bottom region below 1,000. Okay, so that's where you can adjust the scale. So let's go back to chart options. All right. And right here, these two boxes are checked. So it says automatically defined maximum value, automatically defined minimum value. The minimum value I would recommend leaving because that's going to show your minimum factor of safety. All right. But for the maximum value, it's probably not worth showing factor of safety all the way up to 12,000. So what I would do is I would say, okay, I don't really care about anything if it's over a factor of safety of 5. All right. So let's go ahead and pick that. And there, now your gradient becomes a lot more meaningful. Okay, so you can see in here, all this blue stuff, it's 5 or higher. All right, it's just clipping it. But now it gives you a nice gradient. So you can see in here, sorry, the scale, that this is somewhere down near 1.3. All right, in these green areas, you got a factor of safety of 2-ish to 3-ish. So that's a lot more meaningful. And again, on this, you can show the mesh, not really worth your time on the factor of safety because you can do that on the stress. I think is more meaningful. So take that off. Same deal. You can move all this around, and you see over here, I just have 1 decimal point, so it's nice and clean. A good clean image. Okay. So what I would do here, if you want to export this to a report or something, I would just take a screenshot. Honestly, I think you can print the entire window here, but I've always just used a screenshot. One tip I have, though, is to change your background to all white. It just makes it look more professional, and it's going to blend in with the document. So if you're using, a Word document, it's going to be a white background rather than a weird, funky gradient, and you can tell it's just a kind of a tacky screenshot. So if you want to change that, you come up here to Options, and let's see, where's Colors? Go to Colors, and you have Viewport Background. You can change all this other weird stuff, too. And I have it set to white, so you can click edit and change it to whatever color you want, but I have white there because it makes it look nice and clean. All right. So that's pretty much it. So I'd say this video series gets you started with FEA, and there's a lot more to it. There's other simulations that you can do. You can do assembly simulations. If there's a need for it, I'll make another video series that gets into more detail on that. But otherwise, if you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I'll do my best to get back to you. I can't guarantee it. I'm graduating soon, so I'm out of here. But yeah, just ask whatever questions you have. If your question is, please kindly do FEA for me, then don't bother. But otherwise, I hope this was helpful, and have a good day.